today I'm going to talk about this topic called B2B attribution modeling. Okay. Now, what is this all about? So before making a purchase, a customer interacts with the company via many touch points. Okay. So touch point could be something like clicking on a banner ad on Google, clicking on ads on different social media pages, talking to company representatives at a conference, a lot of any interaction that a customer has or a potential customer has before actually making a purchase at a company. That is what we call as touch points. Okay. Now the topic I told you is attribution modeling, right? So what is attribution? Attribution is nothing but the process of determining the proportion of revenue each touch point is responsible for. Okay. And why do we do this? This will help identify which marketing channels are effective and where should we invest our marketing budget. Okay. So typically imagine that you're selling something, okay, and you're advertising that product via a Google AdWords or a banner ad on a particular website, or let's say there is some sort of a trade fair where you have reserved a booth and you talk to customers who visit your booth, you give them your visiting card and so on. Okay, so like this there are several marketing channels, and also you can assume that you advertise via TV, newspapers, etc. Okay, now you have done all these advertisements, you have invested a lot of money for, let's say, over a period of 1 year. Okay, and at the end of the year you get, let's say, some 1 crore rupees in revenue. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to attribute that 1 crore rupees across these different marketing channels that you have had, that you invested in. So you invested in the search engine optimization in Google, you have invested in the Google AdWords. So Google AdWords is nothing but when you search, let's say, iPhone on Google, right? Then you get a listing of the iPhone 12 or iPhone 12 mini on Amazon or Flipkart, right? And then someone clicks on that link and then they come to your website and then they make a purchase. Okay, so when you search a word on Google, you get your website list as one of the results of the Google search. So that is what you call as a Google AdWords. Okay, so and similarly there are banner ads. Then you can advertise on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram. So these are advertisements on the social media pages. Okay, now that 1 crore rupees in revenue that you have obtained at the end of the year, you need to allocate that 1 crore rupees across all of these different advertising channels. That is what is called as attribution. So once you've allocated that, you will have something like, let's say, 20% of that 1 crore rupees came from the Google ads, 50% of the 1 crore rupees came from the newspaper ads, 10% of the 1 crore rupees came from social media ads, and so on. Okay. Now out of these, you identify which particular marketing channel has contributed to the highest to that revenue, and then once you make that identification, from the next year onwards, you can optimize your advertising investments so that you get a better return on your advertising investment. So that is what this entire attribution modeling is all about. Okay, so this is the basic concept of attribution modeling. And why do we call this B2B? So B2B is nothing but business to business. Okay, so for example, what we do at Perceptive Analytics, so that is something that you can term it as under B2B. So contrast this B2B with another concept called as B2C, where it is business to customer. Okay, so Amazon, it's typically business to customer scenario. So you are the customer, the seller on Amazon, he's a business, so you buy from that seller. So that is a business to customer B2C transaction. But let's say you take something like a Perceptive Analytics, where we are a company or we are a business, and we interact with other businesses in terms of any project that we may do. So that is a business to business or a B2B transaction. Okay. So that is the basic about B2B attribution modeling. Any questions here on the concept? Okay, let me move on. So what makes B2B different from the B2C attribution modeling scenario? See the first point, I put it as longer lead cycles. Okay, so what does that mean? So you see, B2B buyers engage 36 times before deciding to make a purchase, with some journeys having hundreds of online and offline touch points. Okay, so the B2B scenario, if you see, the value of the transaction tends to be very huge. Okay, so any big business deal that is signed could be worth some millions of dollars, right? And any company who is going to spend millions of dollars is not going to take the decision very quickly or very lightly. Okay, so that deal signing is going to be a long and protracted process spanning over a period of many months. And over this period of many months, there will be many interactions between the two businesses, and then there will be many of these touch points involved. Okay, and these touch points could be both online and offline. So online, of course, the same thing, Google Ads or Band Ads or whatever. And then offline is meeting at conferences, meeting at the company office. So these meetings could be several in number over a course of many months. Okay, so that is what we say, having hundreds of online and offline touch points. Okay, so again, if you get that 1 crore rupees in revenue at the end of the year, how will you allocate that 1 crore rupees across these hundreds of online and offline touch points? That is what is the most challenging part about B2B attribution model. In B2C, it's very easy. Let's say you search for iPhone 12 on Google, then you get a link in Amazon, then you click on that link, you go to the Amazon website and make a purchase. Okay, so that entire revenue that you obtain, that Amazon has obtained from that iPhone, can be attributed to that Google ad, right? But here, that it is only one touch point. That Google ad was the only touch point. But here in a B2B transaction, there could be hundreds of touch points, and your objective is to allocate that total yearly revenue across all of those hundreds of touch points. Okay, so that is the first chance. And then there are both online as well as offline channels. So offline, I was telling about that conference and the company meetings, right? So these data points are typically not recorded. Okay, and this is where companies have to take that extra effort to record these offline interactions in the CRM. Recording online interactions is no problem because a lot of companies offer these clickstream analytics services, Google Analytics and so on. So all the clickstream data, whoever visits your website, what they see, when did they come, how much time did they spend, everything is recorded automatically. It's stored in your database. You can do all that analysis. But offline data is not stored at all. It is not even recorded. Okay, so anyone wishing to do the B2B attribution modeling, this is one of the primary fundamental steps that they should take. They should record the offline interactions as well. Okay, so omni-channel attribution is required. So that is where we say it is the integration of the online as well as the offline data. So online data, I said the web analytics data or the clickstream data, right? And the offline interaction data is typically stored in the CRM system. So CRM is short for customer relationship management. So all companies have a CRM system. But to what extent that the CRM system is effective or it is being used in that company is it's based on what practices the company follows and how diligently the company is recording all that information in the CRM database. Okay, but like I said, for anyone wishing to do B2B attribution modeling, recording CRM data, recording the offline data in the CRM system is very, very important. Okay. And another challenge in B2B is that unlike the B2C scenario, we need to do account-based attribution and not individual-based attribution. Okay, so what do you mean by that? So in a B2C scenario, let's look back to that iPhone example. You want to buy an iPhone, you search for it in Google, and then you click on that link and then you make the purchase, right? So there is only one person, that is you, who is involved in the entire buying process. But in a B2B scenario, there are several persons who are involved. So that is what I have listed here. There is a person called as a researcher who decides what product or service or what vendor is best suited for the company based on the budget and so on. Okay, and then they will come up with some recommendations saying so the vendors A, B, C are suitable because they offer such and such products which is within our budget, etc., etc. Okay, and then there's an evaluation phase where the guy who is actually going to use that product or service is, he is going to look into all those recommendations. Then he might go for a trial and so on. Okay, so that is where the second person is involved, that is the user. Okay, and once the user sets one product or service out of that shortlist, then he will have to seek an approval from his boss or his manager, right? And ultimately, it is that top manager who is who has the power to make the decision as to whether to actually buy that product or service or not. Okay, so in the very simplest B2B scenario, there are three people involved. Okay, And each of these three people at different points in time, they will be interacting with the prospect company. Okay. And the challenge in B2B is that all these different interactions from these three different people need to be assigned to one particular customer account. Okay, so these should not be considered in isolation, but somehow or the other you need to link them to that particular company's account. Okay, so that is what I mean when I say we need to do account-based attribution and not individual-based attribution. Okay, so these are the challenges in the B2B scenario as compared to a B2C scenario. And the other challenge in B2B is that the data is siloed. Okay, so we have social media data which is stored in a different system, and then the search engine data, it comes from, let's say, Google Analytics or whatever, so that will be in a different system. And then companies typically run email campaigns, and this email campaign data is stored in something called as a marketing automation software. Okay, so that marketing automation software is responsible for sending out those automated emails every week or every day to the customers who are all in that mailing list and so on. Okay, so that is another silo, another system of data which is isolated from the rest. Okay, and then the organic search, any forms that customer fill, right? So that will be owned by the website or the analytics team. So that is again in a separate system. And then the CRM data, which is a separate database in itself. Okay, so another challenge in B2B is that you need to figure out a way to integrate all of these different databases together, so you get a unified view of the customer interactions data, both online as well as offline. Okay. So any questions here until now on the concept or the challenges that we face in B2B?
Sai, just one little slightly curious here. So on the B2B side, related to online transactions or the online touch points, we have a systems and mechanism to collect that data, but on the offline side, like what kind of data is normally expected to be that we should collect? So for example, if two parties are meeting, client and the customer or a company, so what kind of data is expected to be recorded of that meeting or something like that?
So for example, the simplest example is like what I mentioned, the customer coming to a booth at the conference and then inquiring about the product or service. So that is one interaction, right? It may be a very casual interaction, but still it is so since it is a very casual interaction, that is why companies normally fail to record that interaction in the database. But whoever has gone to that conference on behalf of the company, they should make note of what customers they have met and what date they have met, what was the inquiry, and what was the interest indicated by the customer, whether he is a potential lead. So these are the data points which that conversation should elicit, and the company's representative at the conference should record these data points, and then once he comes back to the company, he should input all of these data points into the CRM system. This is one example. The other example could be something like a cold call, right? So people just pick up the phone, call up the company, call up the potential company to be more precise, and in case the customer shows an interest, then we record that as well in the CRM system. So that is another example. Or it could be an impromptu or an ad hoc sales meeting somewhere at the customer's location or something like that. So you send out a sales representative who pitches the company's products, and then whatever resulted out of that interaction. So that thing also is considered as an offline interaction, the details of which will again be recorded in the CRM system.
Okay, got it. Understood. All right, yeah, understood.
Let me go to the next one. So talking specifically about attribution modeling techniques, off-the-shelf marketing automation software are not designed for revenue attribution. So what I mean by marketing automation software? So these are the software packages which record and store your clickstream data, which are responsible for running your email campaigns, which are responsible for measuring those click rates, click-through rates, and open rates, and so on. Right. So these are there are software packages available which automatically do all this stuff for you. But these software packages are not typically designed for revenue attribution. So they record all that data, they store it in the database, they do all that fine. Okay. But when it comes to attributing that 1 crore rupees in revenue across the email campaign, social media campaign, the offline interactions and everything, that is something which the marketing automation software does not do. Okay. And then the conventional models such as the first touch or the last touch attribution models are not suitable for B2B because of a long and complex sales cycle. What do you mean by this? So typically when you talk about attribution modeling, this is what people do. Okay, so imagine there is one Google ad, and then there was this Facebook ad, okay, and then there was the banner ad. Okay, so there are 3 marketing channels. Okay, so first day the customer is searching for your product, he clicked on the Google ad, but he did not make the purchase. Second day he's again searching for the product, he clicked on the Facebook ad, but again he did not make the purchase. Third day he clicked on that banner ad in some another website, okay, and finally he made the purchase. Okay, so that purchase revenue that you have obtained, to what channel will you allocate? So should you allocate to the Google, or should you allocate to the Facebook ad, or should you allocate to the banner ad? So in the first touch model, what you do is you allocate that purchase to the Google ad. Okay? So the rationale people use is that the first impression or the first touch point that the customer interacts with the company, that is the most important. So you allocate that revenue to the Google ad. In the last touch model, you allocate that entire revenue to the banner ad because that was the last click or the last interaction of the customer just before making the purchase. That is the last touch model. Okay, but this sort of a first touch or last touch model is not suitable in the B2B scenario because, like I said, the B2B transaction involves millions of dollars over a period of many months, right, and hundreds of touch points. So attributing that entire 1 crore rupees or the millions of dollars to that first point or the last point, it's not a very good area. Okay, so this is where we go in for a multi-touch model because this gives credit to every piece of content that a prospect interacts with. Okay, so multi-touch models are of many types. So there is a linear attribution model, and then there is a U-shaped attribution model, a time decay model, and then there is a custom attribution model. Okay, so linear attribution is something like, again, let's go back to that same example, 3 touch points, Google, Facebook, banner. Okay, and let's say 300 rupees in revenue, right? So that 300 rupees is equally divided across those 3 points. So 100 rupees for Google, 100 rupees for Facebook, and 100 rupees for the banner ad. So that is what you call as a linear attribution. U-shaped attribution is nothing but for the first and last point, you allocate equal portions of that revenue. Let's say 40% for the first point, 40% for the last point, and then the remaining 20% for the middle point. So that is the U-shaped attribution. Okay, and then time decay attribution is a little more advanced, where you go for a weighted average sort of a technique, and whatever touch points are closer to the conversion are given a higher credit. So again, coming back to that same example, you give the topmost weightage for the banner ad because it came last, right? So it was just before the attribution, so that is given the highest weightage. And then the second highest weightage is given to the Facebook ad because it came second. And then the least weightage is given to the Google ad because it came very early on in the conversion cycle. So that is what you call as the time decay attribution. And then there is something called as a custom attribution, which is more of a data-driven attribution modeling. And this is where people typically try to leverage the advanced artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms. Okay. Any questions here until now?
Sai, on the data sync point, sorry, this is something that I worked previously on. There are lots of questions that I would ask.
No problem. Yeah.
That particular last point where we have to go for multi-touch attribution, right? Different version, U-shape, time decay and all.
Right.
So let's say, for example, in the same example, Facebook, Google Ads. So each of these platforms, we can go there and collect the data that is completely related to that. But do we have like mechanisms where we know, like, if a particular person has first visited where on which platform that particular person has initiated that transaction, or do we have the mechanisms to track that particular identity or person from platform to platform across platforms?
Yes. So it is. So this is somewhat of the more challenging aspect of data tracking. So, for example, the same customer could visit the website from. So today he'll visit it from his laptop. Tomorrow he'll visit it from his mobile phone. Day after tomorrow
Right.
he'll visit it from his tablet and so on. Right. And one aspect which the advanced software or the advanced data recording software provides is that the ability to attribute all of these different sources to one particular customer. Now, this is something that all software packages do not do, but there are softwares available in the market today which claim to do this sort of thing.
Understood. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. And on the customer attribution point, you meant machine learning and involving machine learning or AI, right, Sai?
Yeah.
Any just a brief, like how these models are, would they be like a general regression models or any type of?
Yes. So actually, I do have certain slides, techniques as well. I think that today we are sort of out of time, so maybe I'll cover them in the next session.
Okay. Yep.
Because I think I had around 21 slides in total, but it's almost 10 o'clock already. So we'll just cover one more slide on just an introduction to the different techniques, and then the remaining details of the techniques which I hadn't. So I identified some 4 techniques by going through a list of research papers. So those 4 techniques I found to be a bit suitable. Those 4 techniques we will cover them in the next session.
Sounds great. Yep.
Okay. So like we were saying here, apart from the conventional models, the customer attribution model is what is best suited for the B2B scenario, and this is what helps you do that attribution accurately, right? Customer attribution model. So it is the most sophisticated model, but it also provides the most realistic view of attribution. Okay. Essentially, what it does is it examines historical customer data, all those interactions, click streams, and everything, and it identifies trends in their behavior. Okay. And then, based on this data mining or the results of this data mining of the customer data and the trends, it determines which channels have the highest impact on conversions. Okay. And this attribution finally is made based on data analysis and experience. So there are, even within the customer attribution model, there are models where you might have to assign a weightage to a particular channel, assign a higher weightage to a particular channel, lower weightage to a particular channel, and so on. Right? So this you do based on the results of the data mining activity of all those clickstream data and interaction data and everything, and also based on your experience as to what could have possibly been responsible for that final conversion. So you combine data analysis as well as experience, and then you assign those weightages, and this is what helps you do a more realistic and a more accurate attribution. Okay. And this will also involve comprehensive data collection, like I mentioned, including offline data. You have to build something called a unified lead profile. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. Right? So different people involved in the process, those different people have to be associated with one particular account. So that is what we call as the unified lead profile. Okay. And then we roll up individual activities to the account level. So again, the people browsing from tablets, mobile phones, desktops, and everything. Different people, different devices, but the same company. Okay. So that is what we say. Individual activities should be rolled up to the account level. So these are challenging aspects of the custom attribution model. Okay. And after you do this custom attribution modeling, the final solution will look something like this, or the solution architecture at a high level will look something like this. So you have CRM data, and you have that. So CRM data is basically that offline data, offline interactions data. MAS is the marketing automation software data, clickstreams, email campaigns, and so on. So integrate both of these pieces, and then you come up with something called the revenue waterfall or the campaign influence. So this revenue conversion funnel and then campaign influence is nothing but how much of the revenue should be attributed to each of the advertising campaigns that you ran on different channels. So the final solution will look somewhat like this. The solution in more detail will look something like this. So integration of online and offline data, and then you run that AI model, AI or ML model, and then depending on the model that you are going to be using, there could be certain enhancements which we'll talk about in the next session. Okay, and finally there's the visualization aspect of it. Okay, so different data sources are available. So we capture all ad data, conversion data. So ad data typically comprises of the pay-per-click, social media, banner ads, and everything. These come from these sources which have been listed here. And then there is conversion data. This is the list of data points that you can possibly have: customer relationship, automation, web analytics, social engagement, and so on. And these data points are typically stored in these sources such as Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo, or Shopify. Okay, so this is the online related data, and this has to be integrated with that CRM data or the offline interactions data. So these are different data sources available which form the most fundamental part of your attribution modeling solution. Okay, and then the unified lead profile that you build. So you have several leads, and then customers could also come in via referrals, other social media activities, based on the outbound activities that you do, and so on. And out of all those multiple interactions with different people, you associate all of them with the same company. So that is what you call as the unified lead profile. Okay, so like I said, I did identify 4 approaches, and I think this is something that we can cover in the next session. So any questions on the content that we covered? Okay, so if no further questions, I guess we can move on.